Good morning, everyone. I just heard the bells of the Guildhall chime 10, so we're going to start off for the meeting this morning of the strategy the group plan. And firstly, I'd like to welcome everyone here. This is my first meeting chairing, and my second week as Mayor Derry Strabane, but it's a great honour. I'm really looking forward to today's meeting, so to hear from the deputations. So members, I just want to remind everyone on remote attendance that this meeting will be broadcasted live through the council YouTube channels and will be available for viewing by the public media. The broadcast will be available for repeat viewing at a later date. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with council protocol, and members are approved to speak provided with their mics and cameras while speaking at the meeting. A chat facility is highlighted if you request to speak and be participating in the meeting. Your consent for being phoned for use of storage for those images, broadcast or training for the purpose of keeping historical records or making those records available by the public. A copy of the council privacy notice may be found on the council website at www.derrystrabane.com. So members, moving on the agenda to the apologies.
Yes, Mayor. We have apologies from Janice Skylin from the Department for Education, Pauline Campbell, our co-chair from the Department for Communities. We have apologies from Donna Allen from the Education Authority. Tricia Ward from Libraries NI sends apologies, but I can see Maura Craig is here, so you're very welcome, Maura. We also have apologies from John Hughes from Sport NI, Teresa Malloy from the Trust, Des Gartland from Invest NI, but he has deputised to Mrs. Catherine Spratt. So Catherine, you're very welcome also. Fiona Tegg from the PHA and Kenny McFarland, our co-chair representing the local growth partnerships and the community and voluntary sector. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Rachel, for that. Okay, members, agenda free declaration of interest. Members, see throughout the presentation, throughout the meeting, if you just want to put them on the chat box, it'd be much appreciated. Members, agenda 4, the minutes of the last meeting, which was held on the 4th of March 2021. Is there any matters arising?
Through the chair, Mr. Mayor, Aidan Harkin, Strabane.
Yes, Aidan.
How are you doing? On number 5, item number 5, on the update on the City Dealing and Inclusive Future Fund, we were all very excited by the presentation given by Chief Executive John Kelpie. And on behalf of the Strabane Neighbourhood Renewal Growth Partnership, I warmly welcomed the investment that was coming on the Strabane town. Now since that, I've read 1 or 2 wee bits in the local press that some of this may not happen. So I was just wondering, is that just people speculating? Is it the papers writing a story, or is there any truth whatsoever to it?
Thank you, Aidan. I'm going to bring in the Chief Executive on that one. John?
Thanks, Mayor. Aidan, I'm not sure that I can entirely answer that accurately. I don't know what it is. All I can say from a council perspective is there's absolutely no change from the position that I updated in our meeting back in March. And every project and every element of the Strabane project is proceeding according to plan at this stage.
I'm absolutely delighted to hear that, John. I'm glad to hear you saying it. And I would like it recorded in the minutes of the meeting now, because sadly social media and picks up on a couple of bits and pieces of stuff, and we've got people who go off on tangents here at time, and they seem to think that we're a poor relation of Derry here. And as a proud Strabane man, I'd like to think we're not, and I know we're not. We're going to stand up and we're going to ask for basically what's been set out. And I know that it's been set out, but I would just wanted to dispel the myth. So thanks very much, John, and thanks, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me on.
Thank you. Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you, Chair. It's on the same subject. Just
Okay.
in regard to what Aidan was saying there, I think there needs to be a separation. Some of that, if you want to call it negative press, was around the public realm, not the city deal, which is completely separate. But what I would say to Aidan is just that there is what you call election mode, and some parties like to attack other parties because of certain ministers' role and all the rest. So it's more about politicking than actual factual evidence that people are doing stories on. Thank you.
Thank
Mayor.
you. Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Members, I don't see any other matters arising. So what I'm going to do is move on to agenda 5, and that's the deputations. And it's from the Western Health and Social Care Trust Investment. And I'd like to welcome Keith Feggerty, the project lead strategy capital developer, and Gillian King. And I am really looking forward to these deputations today, but I'd like to welcome you, Keith. Keith, can you hear me?
Mayor, I think Keith's on mute.
Yeah. Well, sorry, members, I just flew past one first day of the job on this. Can I have a proposer and seconder for the minutes of the 4th of March meeting?
Mayor, I'm Sandra Duffy. I'm happy to propose the minutes for you. Just a wee gentle reminder there.
Thank you, Sandra, for that one. Can I have a
Mayor, I'm
second?
happy to second them, Linda Watson.
And very welcome, Linda. How are you? Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
So hopefully Keith's sorted out. Keith, are you on there? Sorry, members, we're having a bit of technical ones here.
Keith, I'm not sure. It's John Calpe here. Keith, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but certainly on our screens, it's still showing up that you are muted. I can't actually see them. Is anybody from our IT section available there? Rachel, can you hear me?
Yeah, John, I can hear you, and I'm trying to unmute there. I see Alt McGalvin MDEC is there, and we've requested unmute. So maybe it might be worthwhile. I know that the next presenters are on the call, so maybe if we can try and work it out and then maybe move back to this agenda item, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to take item number 5.
Thank you.
Rich?
Thank you. So pass to you, Gavin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Partners, I'm delighted to introduce you to this next speaker. I have chaired the Education and Skills Group within the city for probably the last 10 or 11 years under various guises. And I'm also a member of the Board of Governors of the Northwest Regional College, and I've been vice chair for the last 4 years. And this particular area is very close to myself. Yeah, whenever I first became part of the education and skills group, one of the biggest areas that we had from the business community was the lack of engagement between the both the university and the Northwest Regional College with the business community. And I'm delighted that that both Leo Murphy and Fergal Tuffy are going to present today, because in my opinion these two gentlemen have transformed the Northwest College in relation to how it interacts with business and how it helps and supports our businesses locally. So look, I'm delighted to hand over to Leo to give us a bit of background before he hands over to Fergal. So Leo, over to you.
Thank you, Gavin. Thanks for those kind words. Very much a team effort. Yeah. So today we were asked to focus in this presentation on our work with industry across the region, and also remember, naturally, I don't know if Fergal will have pulled them out. We also have a responsibility to the Limavady Valley District and Causeway as well. So we all have a part of our pillar of our work we do is about economic activity. So this will deal with the kind of work in two areas: one around skills and one around innovation. But I mean, to know the context, the Northwest Regional College has about 10,000 students in full-time and part-time study across the city and region, and everybody engaging us with little or no skills, all the way through to people doing professional and technical qualifications at HND and foundation degree level. So I don't want to steal Fergal's thunder, but it'll give you a feel of some of the firms that we're dealing with and how we have supported some of the investment in the region. I think it's important just for members to realise there is a piece that the university does around innovation and skills, but there's also a very important piece that the regional college plays into that piece. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Fergal. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Leo, and thanks everybody for having this opportunity to present to everybody today. So if we can move on to the first slide, please. So as Leo and Gavin mentioned, my name's Fergal Tuffy, and I'm Technology Innovation Manager at the Business Support Centre, which is based at the Northwest Regional College. And I suppose our role and reason to be really is to support business with skills and innovation. Talk to businesses, see what their needs are, find out what their wish lists are, and try and roll our sleeves up and get stuck on with them from the skills and innovation perspective to hopefully develop their staff and develop their business and take it forward with innovative solutions. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. So say the two main ways that we support businesses. The first is industry training. So this is training responsive to the business needs. If they have a need for training for their existing staff, it's developing the talent of those that they already have in work, and this is developed and delivered through our curriculum schools within the Northwest Regional College. Also, I suppose if businesses are looking to attract new staff, these could be businesses setting up in the city or businesses from the region who are growing, and we're able to work with them through different programs too to help them attract staff as well. So, and I'll mention some examples of these in the presentation. In terms of the innovation perspective, as Leo mentioned, I suppose we have a very good working relationship with Ulster University and we dovetail very well. And if you look at the innovation that we do, essentially it's a small R and big D, where it's less focused on the blue skies research, where we feel that the university have great strength and capabilities. And our work is primarily focusing on the D side, and that's hence where there's a capital D and a small R. Where we get our sleeves rolled up and we get stuck in with businesses, and we hope that at the end of the projects that we deliver with businesses, that we provide them with solutions which often they can sell and generate revenue from at the end of our intervention. So it's helping businesses to develop new products and new services which are practical and market focused, and primarily across the areas of food and drink product development, IT and creative and digital media, which also includes the likes of augmented and virtual reality, and then engineering and product design. And I suppose it is supporting employers, startups, and small businesses to be more innovative, competitive, and hopefully expand their product reach. So if I can move on to the next slide, please. I have a focus first of all on the training opportunities and programs that we deliver from the college, and we're very fortunate that there's a significant amount of funding that comes through from the Department for the Economy to fund these programs. So the first program is Skills Focus, which is industry training for staff within businesses, which involves qualifications level 2 and above. The second program it's called higher level apprenticeships. And I suppose it has taken the European best practice models of white collar apprenticeships. And these involve apprenticeships where students come into the college, they study for 1 day a week, and the remainder that they are employed within businesses. And again, I'll mention a wee bit more detail in terms of these types of programs. The third point there is around assured skills academies, and these are for indigenous businesses from the locality that are looking to grow, or else foreign direct investment businesses that are looking to come and set up here and attract new staff and skills to meet their needs. And we're able to support those. We have several successful engagements that we have supported and are supporting businesses with in this area also. And then the last point, I suppose, has been reactionary in terms of everybody's been dealing with the challenges of COVID, and we in the college have been no different. We successfully bid for funding from the Department of Economy for people who were affected by COVID, and we developed a range of programs and interventions which have assisted a large number of people to get new skills despite the challenges, maybe being furloughed or made redundant through COVID. So if we move to the next slide, please. So the skills focused training is for businesses with less than 250 employees, and it involves qualifications, accreditations, level 2 or above, and a bespoke training specific to the needs of their business. So we can talk to business, do a needs analysis, see what their needs are, and it could be a case that a business needs a specific intervention for their employees, or it could be a case that that if they only have a couple of staff, they're able to pull them together with other businesses with a similar need and develop a provision that suits a number of businesses. So I say we deliver, in the first instance, we go out, talk to businesses, see what their needs are, and then develop a tailored solution to try and address their needs. And this, we're fortunate at the moment, is 100% funded by the Department for the Economy. It's going to be 100% funded up to the end of March 2022. So again, in everybody's walks of life and engagement with employers, if they have staff that are looking for training, please contact us, and the details will be at the end of this presentation. Contact us. We'll be happy to talk about the needs of the business and see if we can develop a solution to meet the needs. So the next slide, I suppose, gives an overview simply through this program alone in terms of the skills focus program, where we have worked with over 190 businesses in the past year, and over 470 employees have received training and qualifications level 2 and above. And some examples of those are the likes of leadership management, digital marketing, health and safety, and even moving to the likes of electric vehicle and hybrid vehicle, I suppose, which is becoming more prominent as even vehicles develop. So those are just some of the range of courses, and I say there are many other courses. Again, key thing is people to come forward and ask for support, and we're happy to go out, meet them, and help any way we can. So the next slide gives a bit of an overview on the higher level apprenticeships. So these can be a new or existing employee within a business, and they involve qualifications level 4 and level 5, where the participant, the student, attends 1 day a week in the Northwest Regional College, and the other 4 days that they're based in the business. So I suppose this is a way that they call it the earn as you learn, and the fact that as opposed to somebody getting a large student debt, these are fully funded by the Department of Economy from the training perspective, so there's no cost of fees. And the participant also gains a foundation degree, which is accredited in partnership with Ulster University, or for the accounting, it's through IATI, the Accounts Technicians of Ireland. And we're now recruiting for the 2021 intake across areas such as accountancy, tourism and hospitality, childcare, mechanical engineering, electrical electronic engineering, and software. And I suppose it's important to mention to people too as well that this also is able to avail of the apprenticeship incentive scheme as well, where the employer will be able to gain up to £3,000 towards the cost of employing the higher level apprenticeship. So it's a good way for businesses to tap into new and fresh talent, bring fresh ideas into their business, and grow them within their business at the same time. And there's, I suppose, examples of some of the businesses that we have worked with through the higher level apprenticeship program at the bottom there. So I see Newprint and Gavin listed there. So again, thanks to the businesses that have been have supported us and provided these opportunities for the employees and the students, and playing a vital role. So if we move to the next slide, please. The next slide, I suppose, focuses on I mentioned the reactionary and the COVID skills interventions that the college has delivered a lot of training on. So at the outset, we bid for funding. Thankfully, we were successful in attaining. Then we'll liaise with our curriculum departments in terms of looking at areas and opportunities for growth, where we felt that if we provided training for people affected by COVID or people who are furloughed, made redundant, areas we felt that there could be opportunity for people to move into new roles and new employment and begin new careers. So some of the examples are listed there. We've ran 2 very successful Kickstart software courses, one in partnership with Derry City and Strabane District Council, who've been, Tina Gillespie and the team there have been great in terms of collaborating with us. We've also run one in partnership with the Causeway Coast and Glens Council too. Other programs there in terms of Future Leaders Graduate Program. And I suppose these programs provide training at the college, recognise qualifications, and then also involve placements as well, where we work with the participants to get placements in businesses ranging from, some of them are 4 weeks. I've done digital marketing one, which has been 8 weeks. We've done with social enterprises as well too, which is 4 weeks. And I suppose, and getting the placement that hopefully, as well as getting the educational learning and the qualification, then getting the placement that'll hopefully provide a springboard for them to gain employment within businesses too. So also, I suppose one of the ones we developed there was international transport and documentation, I suppose, in response to the challenges around Brexit. So again, it's been very successful, and we're running our second cohort of 20 people through it now too. So in total, I suppose through these COVID skills funding, there have been 600 and over 680 people have been trained. There have been 52 participants have come through the graduate programs, I say, which involve the qualifications and the placements, and 69 courses, many of them which are new courses which we've developed, have been delivered during this time as well. Like so. And I suppose just to point out too, in terms of bidding for the funding for it, the graduate programs, as well as them getting the training, the participants have also been able to avail of a training allowance as well as part of it. So again, it's providing new skills and pathway, we hope, for people who, were adversely affected through COVID to get employment in the future. So if I move on to the last slide on one of the last slides on skills, it mentions the Assured Skills Program. And I say this is for Indigenous businesses who are growing. And you can see there on the right, many of the businesses in the engineering sector who had a significant need around welders and welding staff, and also businesses who were setting up foreign direct investment businesses, such as Fintru and Alchemy, who are looking to establish facilities here in Derry and grow a talented workforce to meet their needs. So I suppose the college has worked with the various businesses and also the funders, the Department for the Economy, to deliver a wide range of assured skills academies. And over the past 3 years, this has supported the creation of 220 highly technical and highly skilled jobs, again, which are well paid, and great opportunities for the people who have come onto the academies and progressed into those roles. Even, for example, in the last week, we've started another academy with Alchemy, where there are 19 participants have started the most recent one. Like so, that number of 220 will be increasing as we go from week to week. So, if we move on to the next slide, please. I suppose Alchemy is, a phenomenal story, and it's credit to John Harkin and Anne O'Neill and the team there at Alchemy in terms of how they've grown the business. and thankfully we've been able to support them at the Northwest Regional College in their journey over the past 3 years. So that's been through the Shared Skills Academy. We've supported them. 6 academies completed and the 7th one that's currently being delivered. And again, it's given the candidates, you know, real cutting edge skills that allow them to progress into roles within Alchemy, and it's great to see how they have flourished in those roles. And then in providing a constant support to Alchemy, they've come back and they've worked with us in terms of getting training for the likes of advanced Java skills and software testing. And then also as they've grown their staff and complement as well, we've been able to provide leadership management training to their staff as well. Like, so I say it's a credit to them that they've been continuing to invest in their staff. And also it's great that I suppose we in the college have been able to continue to support them as they continue to grow their business. So moving on to the next slide, just to sort of begin to give a bit of flavour on the innovation support that we provide at the Northwest Regional College. So from the innovation perspective, as I mentioned before, it's very much the small R and big D, where we get our sleeves rolled up and we support businesses on a one-to-one basis to implement an innovation activity within their business, primarily around developing new products and new services. And often for many of the businesses, which could be startup or micro enterprises, it could be their first engagement on an innovation perspective. And with our staff and the team being able to provide fresh thinking and new knowledge for them to help develop their idea and make it a reality. So one of the programs that we deliver through is a Department of Economy funded Innovate Us program, which again for the business is 100% fully funded, and where we provide up to between 30 to 60 hours of one-to-one mentoring on an innovation intervention. And in the past year, we've supported 90 businesses through this program. And some of the businesses with the photographs on the right there, an entrepreneur, Monto, who's set up his business, Monto's Chocolates. And again, we supported him and helped him to develop his business and the products and bring them successfully to the market. And then another one on the right there is Landmark Panels, who had an idea about creating bespoke panels based around historical and geographical features. So again, using our product design center that we have in our one of our campuses in Limavady, we've been able to support them, and Monto's Chocolates has been supported through the Food Innovation Centre, which has grown from strength to strength here at the Northland building at our Strand Road campus. We've delivered and we continue to deliver around 25 innovation vouchers per year for small businesses through the Invest Northern Ireland Innovation Voucher Programme also. And it involves the college delivering I suppose, consultancy to businesses on a one-to-one basis. For example, looking at the product that we did with Saffron restaurant here in the city and Suki's Kitchen as he's branded his product range. We worked with Suki in terms of developing his ready-meal products, looking at everything from recipes and production to shelf life testing and nutritional analysis. And also we delivered a quick turnaround project we delivered with MIM, who are based in the Campsie Maydown area there. And again, they came to us where they wanted to take their Peace Bridge bench product and be able to re-engineer it for flat pack and distribution throughout the world. So again, through the technical engineers we have in the product design center, that was something that we turned around in 3 weeks, that the business was able to then take that and implement it within their manufacturing and distribution. So the last group of projects there are called Knowledge Transfer Partnership, which are I suppose highly prized projects, and they're funded by Innovate UK. And they can involve projects that typically are around 2 years in duration. So we at the college, and I suppose it's key to point out that it's only really colleges in Northern Ireland that have been successful in attaining these. It's not really been the colleges in mainland UK haven't been successful. And I suppose it's a recognition of the skills and capabilities that the further education colleges in Northern Ireland have. And we've delivered projects with Foil International. We delivered a project with A Global, which is the photograph there, and it was recognised as outstanding by Innovate UK based upon the collaboration between ourselves and A Global to develop a cloud-based platform for the business, and they were estimating that it would make efficiency savings about 20% within their business. So it was a very successful project and a great collaboration between ourselves and the business. Recently, we've also announced a new knowledge transfer partnership, an exciting opportunity as well with Braidwater, the construction group. So we're looking forward to it starting, and again, it's to realise new innovative ideas that the business have to implement within the construction sector. So if we move to the next slide, please. So I suppose there's a wide range of different areas that we would work with businesses, and it could be, I say, new product developments, many in the engineering realm and 3D printing and additive manufacturing, the likes of augmented and virtual reality and other IT areas. And then I say we do a significant amount of work in the food and drink area, you know, linking with the food network here, the legendary food network here in the city, and other businesses to support them to develop new products and take them from somebody's kitchen effectively to a retail space like so. And I say it's like providing businesses with access to the state-of-the-art facilities that we have in the college, such as the Food Innovation and Product Design Centre, and access to, I suppose, staff that we have with specific technical knowledge, which can we can support business and help them learn from too. So. So we've moved to the next slide. I suppose it's just to give an overview in terms of the college continues to invest in the facilities that we have, and one of the investments that we've made, I suppose, since Leo has come into the role, is to invest in our innovation centres. So within the college, we've invested over £2 million in the Food Innovation Centre, a product design, which is based in our Strand Road campus, our product design centre based in Limavady, and our design innovation for assisted living centre, Dial, which again is based at the Strand Road campus, which links, I suppose, health and care, which we are the hub for within the further education sector in Northern Ireland, and also bringing in areas of IT and new product development within this sector too. So I suppose in investing in these facilities, what we're doing is we're providing state-of-the-art facilities which we can support businesses with to test new products, develop new products, and I suppose try and make it easier for them to bring new products to the market, and also with having technical staff able to develop and deliver knowledge and skills to the businesses and qualifications too, and that we're able to embed the knowledge within the businesses. So. And often businesses might not be able to afford these facilities themselves, especially whenever they're in an earlier stage mode. So we provide them with access to facilities and support them there. So as I suppose we've begun to draw to a close here. If we were to move to the next slide and we look and say, okay, where's the college do we go next on the road ahead? I suppose, you know, our main reason to be is, I suppose, to continue to support businesses, you know, and hopefully as they sustain and grow with skills and innovation. Also a case of supporting the stakeholders, you know, I say the council, university, Invest Northern Ireland, the likes of the enterprise centres and the wide range of stakeholders to continue to strengthen and grow the Northwest economy, both Indigenous and businesses that are looking to set up here. Also, we're looking to, I suppose, build and grow on our existing innovation centres, the centres I mentioned there, Food Innovation, the Product Design Centre and Dial. And also, I suppose, target applied research type projects where we get our sleeves rolled up and get stuck in, collaborating and linking with the Northwest Advanced Manufacturing Collaborative Network, which it's great that it has been successfully approved in recent months. And I suppose from the college also to continue to grow, you know, skills and looking at, you know, opportunities to continue to grow. I suppose within the Business Support Centre, we have a team now of over 25 staff. And we're looking to continue to grow that and expand what we do with the college and the greater Northwest area. So linking with the likes of the Department of the Communities and the opportunities that will hopefully arise through the local labour market partnerships across the region, and also say linking with Invest Northern Ireland and the cross-border work as well. Like so. We're also looking at next phase of innovation centre. So we've the current innovation centres, which are up and going and have been very successful and continue to grow. And we're also looking, I suppose, at linking with the likes of the various industry partners such as Seagate, and they have a bid applied for a smart nano manufacturing corridor, which has been submitted to UK Research and Innovation, and hope to collaborate with them and also with businesses in the area of augmented and virtual reality, where we have ideas of making investments from the college perspective also. And I suppose it'll be a key element in what we do to underpin the investments through the city and growth deals in Derry City Strabane District Council area and Causeway Coast and Glen Council area, from both the skills and the innovation pieces, to make sure that that these projects, are embedded from the ground up, through the knowledge and the support that we provide to the community and the businesses like so. And I suppose I should mention as well that it's been a successful year for us in the college, where we were awarded the Times Educational Supplement Award for the employer engagement in the UK. We, I suppose, received that award as the top college for employer engagement. And I say it was a proud moment for us in the college to get that, and to recognise, I suppose, how we have grown and where we've got to at the Northwest Regional College in the past number of years. So the next slide, if we can move that, please, which I hope will be a video. So I suppose as part of with I know Leo will touch on this. I suppose as part of the college's continued investment. There's
Just
been an
before we
investment in
start,
Springtown. So
just before we start this, Fergal said a wee bit of context just for members. What Fergal's given you is the overview of the work we have built, I suppose, from scratch, engaging with industry. I mean, very much when people ask us what's the vision in the college, I say, come into the college. If you haven't got a job, let's try to get you skills to get you a job. If you have got a job, come in and let's get you more skills to get you a better job. So the skills and innovation piece sits out, but we're very conscious about our widening access, engaging and working as best we can with community partners, because we do have big challenges with people who are no skills across the region. So some of the work we've been doing in early engagement, building up welding academies, is trying to connect people for a range of reasons, maybe at the lower end of the skills agenda at the moment, try to bring them into the piece, try to connect the skills to work. So it's a very important part of what we do. I know my colleagues in Strabane there to tell them we are started the work on the outline business case. We do need a new facility in Strabane. It's very important for that. I cherish the work we're trying to do in West Tyrone. Many of the companies that Fergal deals with cut across the region, the regional companies. So we've just topped off an investment in the new facility in Springtown, which is definitely needed, certainly within the city region, as a state-of-the-art facility to drive apprenticeships. I'm very keen on driving up more young people, and hopefully if we move to all age apprenticeships, more adults finding pathways into work. And I think that's what we do in the college. We work closely with the university. The university is a different agenda. We're not the university with a regional college. We're about connecting people to skills and to work. Work's very important for us. You'll see a lot of what Fergal connected you to there was about us setting up the infrastructure to be able to do shared skills academies and connecting people through skills to work, and the work we do with graduates to keep our graduates within the region. Chair, this will just give you a short feel of what this campus looks like. It's a good location within the city that we can reach out to people to help support skills. So maybe if we just want to run the video. Okay, Chair, thank you.
Okay, Leo and Fergal, thank you very much for that. I'll open it now to the floor for any questions or comments. Let's see, any questions
Chair,
here?
maybe if I could come in
Yes,
there,
certainly, John.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just firstly to thank Leo and Fergal for that presentation, and what a fantastic video showcasing your new facility. I think I'd seen an earlier version of that, Leo.
Yep. Yeah.
But I think what you've just showed us there really demonstrates that link between the work of the college. I must turn my phone off. The work of the college and the links to how it directly creates and sustains jobs and opportunities in this council area. So just from a council perspective, I firstly want to acknowledge the key partnership working of the college across all of the city and regional partners in everything that we do in the strategic growth plan, and I suppose a subset of that being the city deal. As many know, the college is an integral part of that, both with the massive, exciting new facility that you're planning for Strabane, but also the key pivotal role that you play in the skills agenda. And as you've highlighted yourself there, Fergal and Leo, the key role in the innovation space as well, in the innovation agenda, and in building what I think is a really new innovation network and partnership right across the city and district in the years ahead. The work in that space is excellent. There's no question about it that the work in terms of the Assured Skills Programme, as a result of that, there are hundreds of new jobs for young people in this city and district. We would not be able to have attracted some of those companies into the city and district, nor could we sustain their growth without those programs. And it's fantastic to see that a new tranche is just beginning work with you in relation to Fintry. In the COVID skills courses, some of those numbers are hugely impressive at a time when people are uncertain about their futures and their jobs and uncertain about the options that are in front of them. To have over 650 people trained across those areas are very impressive numbers. And I just wonder if you have any comment on around the sustainability of the funding for those initiatives and whether you can see those continuing into the future. So I mean, that's my main question today, but lots of comments and a great deal of thanks for the integrated nature within which all of this is happening. I now know who to blame for the Suki's Kitchen products that have sustained me over the last number of months of lockdown, probably far too many of them. And I look forward to maybe visiting the Springtown campus at some point, Leo and Fergal.
Indeed.
And wish you all the very best with what is a tremendous facility, and a tremendous facility for the city and region.
Thank you, John, for your kind words. Look, it's what we do and what colleges should be doing. And sometimes the debate in the city, you know, naturally, as we wish to see the university expand and all those bits and pieces. But I mean, for us, we're very clear in the college, this is about getting people skills for work, keeping the people in the region, getting them more jobs and better jobs of all sorts. And it's up to us. We'll keep looking for any additional funding we need to do. That's our job to go and find that and make the particular impact. The food centre doesn't help me either, John. It hasn't helped my waistline when I offered to be a food tester on a regular basis. So we're all suffering. But look, I'm just there. Underneath me, your teams are brilliant people in this college across our various campuses who are doing great work with industry, quietly growing businesses, providing jobs, I say, for young people and adults. And I really wanted to do about the Assured Skills was to knock out of the water that you had to do this type of work in Belfast. You can do it here. We have the capacity and skills to train any firm that comes to this particular region, and that's what we wanted to make sure we were able to do that particular piece. So I say to thank Fergal, thank his team, and you know that's the business development people. There are people who work with widening access and participation. There are brilliant teams working with essential skills across the city and region. They're just one of the teams, but I think today what we'd asked, just to show people that we're in that skills and innovation space as well, particularly that small R big D, John. I think it's very important. This is a micro business economy. Not everybody's going to knock the door of the university about Blue Skies research. Lots of small companies will make their first steps in innovation. And as we say, any small hungry company across this region can knock our door. We're there to help them with innovation and then say, what about skills? What about helping you taking somebody into a particular post? So that's what we do, John.
I suppose, John, if I can take your question in terms of the COVID skills interventions. And in the first instance, the Department of Economy, I suppose, secured the funding and brought this out as a pilot intervention. And I think they were blown away and pleasantly surprised by how the colleges in particular, as well as the universities, were able to react, develop new courses and provide opportunities for people who had been severely affected with COVID. So based upon that, they have earmarked around £15 million over the next 3 years to provide what they now call flexible skills funding. So it's taking people that maybe who are affected by COVID and looking at continuing these interventions. And I suppose with ourselves in the college, the likes of the software testers program and some of the leadership management programs and digital marketing, looking at those to go and say, okay, yeah, what worked well and what could we now go and deliver again. And so we now have to bid to the Department of Economy to secure further funding now for the next 3 years. But we're confident that we can do that based upon the success that we have had.
And John, I just came off a call this morning on a very well integrated framework with Donegal, ETB, LYIT and Ulster University at McGee. So the institutions in the broader region are working very closely together around skills and innovation as well to do the piece and sharing expertise where possible. So I think that's an important thing. Look, it's a very joined up. It isn't necessarily joined up in every other sub-region. I can't comment on it, but it's certainly very joined up here, and that's a positive message to put out to investors and to government as well.
Okay. I think it is the collaborative approach, I think, is key in the fact that, for businesses that are looking to grow here or set up here, they're looking and they're going saying that between the council, the university, the college, the chamber, who we've a very close and great working relationship with too, that there's a real willingness to make things happen here in the Northwest, and I think we have a big opportunity now.
Yeah, no, look, Leo and Fergal, thank you very much for that. There doesn't appear to be any other questions. Look, lots of positive comments in the chat box and confirmation of that collaboration, from Paul Seawright from the university, Simon Sloan from the Department of Communities and the Chamber as well. So that collaborative piece is really, really important. But look, folks, before we just wrap up on this, it's not to be underestimated, this department didn't exist within the Northwest Regional College going back 6 or 7 years until Leo came along and Fergal came along, and for it to be employing 25 people and where we are today, and as John has alluded to, how that's attracting employers to come into this area and upskill our young people and provide an opportunity it is a significant achievement that the college has done in this regard, and they are to be commended for that. And I would just like, if everybody's happy, if all members are happy, that we would formally just endorse that presentation and our support for the college in this regard, if everyone's happy with that.
Gavin, it's the mayor. Just a wee quick one there.
Sure.
Leo, Fergal, just to totally 100% agree with the chief executive's comments. Absolutely brilliant and well done. And it's so good to hear that for the city and the district. And obviously, with the year a lot of business had with the training going through there, that's outstanding with the figures through 470. That's really positive. But there was one thing I just want to bring up, and it was one of your arts and design students. It was an Ethan Derry. I think it was last week he's put on Twitter about a video he created on an animation project of his grandfather. Yeah. Absolutely outstanding. And from myself, you can pass on absolutely brilliant from the there. It was really good.
Thank you. And we have some really talented young people and adults in this region, and we need to cherish them. Yeah. And we need the infrastructure to keep them here. I saw that video, I saw it put up on social media. But I mean, fantastic talent is here, and that's what I'm saying. We need to cherish it. We need the positivity coming out, and we need to know that we have a can-do mentality. Thank you.
Yeah, just Sandra, would you like to come in there?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I just want to thank Leo and Fergal for the really impressive presentation and the work that's going on. The video was excellent, I have to say. I would really like to see that shared wider, because I think it shows the work that's going on. I just wanted to comment on the skills and how that is the focus of where we need to be moving towards that skills and innovation. And it's great to see the amount of work that is going on to develop that, because if we have a skilled up workforce here, people will come and invest. So it's not rocket science. That's what we need to be moving towards. But I wanted to comment as well, Leo, on at the last Northwest Regional Development Group, we did have the presentation from yourselves, from Ulster, and then from our partners in Donegal in terms of their training and LYIT. And I have to say that really impressed me, that joined up working, that complementary way of working in terms of the courses and the skills that we are producing as a Northwest region. And I think that is key to us becoming an innovative sub-region, as we would describe it, in that Northwest City region, and bringing that forward and putting ourselves on the map. And the more that I listen to the likes of yourself, Leo, the more excited I can get about it, because I can see it all coming together and the pieces of the jigsaw coming together on it. And I would be really hopeful in terms of our future, because of the great work that is going on in the likes of the Northwest Regional College, the likes of LYIT, and all of it coming together to complement and develop this region. So just put on record, Champagne's thanks for all the work that's going on. So brilliant work.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you. Just mindful of time, another positive comment there from Martin Graham, Tourism NI as well. So if there aren't any further comments or questions, are members happy to endorse the work of the Northwest Regional College in this regard? No disdainers, so we'll take that's approved. Okay, Leo and Fergal, thank you very much for your presentation. And are we okay for the Western Health and Social Care piece now, Rachel?
Hello, everyone.
Keith, yeah.
Yes. Hi, Gavin.
You're very welcome. I'll just pass over to the Mayor now, and the Mayor can introduce you. Just over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Gavin. Keith, can you hear us now okay? Yeah.
Can indeed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect. Appreciate it. So, members, we're just going to pass it on now. The Western Health and Social Trust investment. I think we're all really looking forward to this one, and really good job, Northwest College, coming on. But hopefully, no more technical faults. So, there you are, Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and apologies for the technical difficulties earlier on. We're here this morning, and we're just very briefly going to update you on a number of projects that the Trust has taken forward over the next few years. And if we can move to the next slide, you'll see there are three key strategic projects that are in development at the minute. There's two health and care centre hubs, one on the city side and one in Strabane, and a Thrive project, which is between a coordination between us and the University of Ulster. We'll come across that. I'm going to concentrate mostly on the city side one, because that's the one furthest down the development path. And if we can go to the next slide. The Cityside Health and Care Centre Hub is a project which comes in within the remit of regional policy, and we've heard a lot about MDNA in recent days, but part of transformation and development of reducing waiting lists is these tranche projects for PCID, which is primary care infrastructure development programs within the region. It's described as a health and care centre hub, but as you will see through the presentation, it's a lot more than what we traditionally think of as a health and care centre. Tranche 2 means it's the second round of health and care centre hubs that are being developed throughout the province. You'll have noticed that within the West we had development at Oma and shortly one at Lisnaskea. Tranche 2 covers the areas of Ards, Newton Abbey, Dungannon and ourselves here in the city side. And lucky enough, we are the first of those four Tranche 2 projects to have got progress and initial approval for. So next slide, what is it? The purpose of the Cityside and Health Care Centre Hub is to deliver integrated care, flexible to changing needs, and allow for multidisciplinary working. And a key element is to support the shift from the hospital to the community care sector. To deliver basically as many community-based services as we can in the community in a high-quality building. So at very high level, that's the purpose of it. So next slide, where are we with the city side development? It's currently going to have approximately 26 GPs, which will grow, 6 practices, which is about half the patient list on the city side of the town. So this will become the highest concentration of community patients in the west of the province when we develop this. The building we require is around the 13 to 14,000 square meters mark, approximately 72 million investment, and around 5 acres of space. So that sets out the sort of picture of it. We have, as probably everyone knows, we responded to the expression of interest from the Department for Communities a couple of years ago, and we've been working with them through a memorandum of understanding, which was in place until just April past, to enable us, working through the COVID period, to get early approval from the Department of Health and the Department of Finance, which arrived with us in March 21. So we're now in the process of rolling this out, this development. And next slide, what's going to be there basically? So there's going to be initially, the prediction is 6 GP practices, which is, again, as I said, half the city side's GP population. And they're the supporting multidisciplinary teams that are wrapping around the GP practices in primary care. We're going to have a number of trust services from our primary care and older people's sector. We're going to have ones which you would expect to be in a health centre, things like district nursing, AHPs, dietetics, diabetics, things like that. But we are going to also move a large part of our acute day procedures, outpatient services and diagnostics across to here. What we're intending, based on a normal working week, is to have 20 sessions of procedures based here every week. And this will free up, this has the opportunity to free up space at Altnagelvin to allow the development of our theatres and our A&E services to respond to the pressures which we're facing there. And for example, our A&E at Altnagelvin is currently built for 45,000 patients a year, where demand is moving towards 100,000. So we need space for some of our key core services at Altnagelvin. Within women's and children's community services, we want to bring a focus of women's and children's services in areas such as children's safeguarding, dental, paediatrics into the city and into the community. Mental health, obviously, is a pressure area for us. And again, it's bringing those community-based reactive teams from areas like Graduate into, and it will cover services such as addiction services, the primary care liaison teams, the eating disorders teams, and the crisis community teams. We also have proposing to move our Centre for GP out of hours services from Altnagelvin to this community place, to put it back into the heart of the community, which was the initial intention of GP out of hours, to replicate out of hours what a GP service should provide. It will also become the central ambulance deployment point for the city side to allow them to meet their waiting time targets and their access targets. And also in coordination with the new medical school, we have to provide additional space for the medical school trainees to be placed. I mean, as an example, I was in Strabane meeting one of the GP practices last week, and one of the main issues they gave us was that they couldn't take on extra GP trainees because they had no space. So it sort of negates the purpose of us training local GPs if we can't give them placement space. CTRIC, which is our Clinical Transitional Research Investment Centre, is our industry-facing part of the health service, and it allows us here to, as I said, with 42,000 community-placed patients on the waiting list, and the data that comes from that allows trials and the industry-facing opportunities from that to be more immediately delivered in the area that they should be. And also, as with any of our new health and care centre hubs, we'll be providing opportunities for the community and voluntary sector, which relates to us, to move in. So that very quickly is an overview of the services that will be provided there. Where is this in, as you would say, where are we with this? And if we move to the next slide, we can start to put timescales to this. We have currently outlined business case OBC1 approval, as it's called within the Department of Health, of around 5.4 million for the next 2 financial years to undertake the site purchase and the design of the facility right through and up to the planning application stage. Why we have only a stage 1 approval is because of affordability issues within the Department of Health, and they're not willing to commit to the distant future. But obviously they wouldn't be spending this amount of money if the process wasn't going on. So next slide, please. So moving forward, we are now in a period of working intensively with the Department for Communities, the site owner for this at Fort George, and other key stakeholders, and taking forward this project. We're in the process. We have a procurement process underway for the design teams, who will be hopefully coming on stream at the end of this summer, and then we'll develop our vision for this project. Obviously, the construction contract follows straight after that. A period of 2.5 to 3 years construction is what we're anticipating, but that's dependent, and I have to say this as I work for a department, upon approval from the Department of Health at that time and affordability. So we're talking 2 years from the 1st of April just passed for design and planning, and 2.5 to 3 years for construction. Next slide. At this early stage, to sort of set a picture of this, we have a couple of slides of our early artist impressions. Obviously subject to design, subject to planning, and subject to the normal issues. But this is our vision for the Health and Care Centre hub at Fort George. And if we could show the second slide, which gives an overview of it. So hopefully you'll see that there's it's quite a promising development, and hopefully it fits in, and the synergies that can be delivered both from the university, the Northwest Regional College, the Catalyst who are already there and their development of new businesses, you know, and the council work. It should give us quite a corridor of services and opportunities along the Strand Road. Moving on to Strabane Health and Care Centre, it's a bit further back in the planning process. We've just received authority from the Department of Health and our Commissioner of the Health and Social Care Board to commence the OBC case for this, and we've just started the project and set the development teams up to do this. This Strabane Healthcare Centre hub is envisaged as about 7,000 square metres, 67,000 square metres, which is approximately half the size of the city side one we've done. It'll still be a 30+ million pound investment, and our intention of that is to have the OBC for this developed by December, January of this year, and that's probably closely in line with all the other City Deal and future projects. Within the Department of Health, Strabane is seen as tranche 3, which has to be delivered in priority after the 4 tranche 2 health and care centre hubs are delivered. But obviously, the quicker we can get approvals for this, the quicker we can put pressure on to get Strabane Health and Care Centre moving as quickly as possible. And that is Strabane. And finally, we have a Thrive project, which via CTRIC, our transitional research company within the trust, in conjunction with the University of Ulster, they've established a project board to take forward the Thrive business case. Thrive comes again part of City Deal, and its intention is to have an industry-facing research facility, and it's expanding the existing personalised medicine and health data analytics research throughout the town. Circa £22 million investment as per the SOC, split between the University, the Western Trust, and the City Deal monies. What would it deliver? The intention is to deliver just over 100 direct jobs and maybe 500 to 600 industry jobs. This again, the University of Ulster and CTRIC are taking forward the outline business case for this and hope to have it developed by the end of this calendar year as well. So it's working in the same sort of timescales as Strabane. And those, from the trust perspective, are three strategic projects in the community that we are taking forward over the next number of years. Obviously, we're still pressing for the development of Altnagelvin and a lot of things there within the core central secondary care services. And we've sort of touched on before, a lot of them are around ED sizing and theatre sizing to meet the transformational waitlist pressures that we're under. So that very quickly is a run through of the Western Trust's ambitions over the next few years. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Keith. Colleagues, I'm just apologising on behalf of the Mayor, who's had to leave the meeting and has messaged me just to ask me if I could pick up from in chairing the remainder of it. So thank you very much, Keith, for that presentation. I think hopefully all of the other colleagues in the call, it shows now, it's beginning to show how the integrated nature of all of these proposals are starting to come together. Keith touched on this toward the end of his presentation. The vision, the growing vision over the last few years with all of us working together through the growth plan has been to establish that health and innovation corridor along the riverfront from Fort George right up. And you can see now how that massive and very exciting high quality investment in Fort George in terms of health, how it works hand in glove with what the university is taking forward, both in terms of not just the medical school, but also why it was now so hugely important and strategically important that the allied health elements and courses within Ulster have now moved to be located in Magee, and how they all coexist with the various massive innovation projects that are now being taken forward through CityDeal, including the Thrive project, and the huge cumulative potential that these projects will have, not to mention the massive physical transformation that they will create along the riverfront and on the campuses both of Northwest Regional College and Ulster University. The Strabane Health Hub proposal, I think it's fair to say, Keith, that probably would have been much further down the line in terms of priorities, and its inclusion within CityDeal and the Future Fund proposals has catapulted it significantly up the priority list. And it obviously will also play now a huge role in terms of not just the health agenda in Strabane town, but also, again, similar to the riverfront in Derry, it'll play a key role in stimulating the physical regeneration of the centre of Strabane. And indeed, it is probably the biggest element in the Strabane town centre CityDeal proposal. So it's great to receive these update presentations this morning, Keith. I have to say, from an external viewpoint looking in on Western Health and Social Care Trust, you can teach us all a few lessons on how to progress OBCs as quickly as you can. You seem to have been able to smooth out all of the wrinkles in the process and get them through the system very quickly. So look forward to learning some lessons from you and how we can improve on the speed of the remainder of the OBCs through the government processes. And thanks very much. I'm just going to open it up now for questions. I see Aidan is in from Strabane Local Growth Partnership. Any time scale for the Strabane healthcare facility? So we'll pass that back to you, Keith. But maybe just before doing so, there's a comment also from Sandra Duffy. So Sandra, do you want to come in there?
John, and thanks, Keith, for the presentation. It's more a comment than a question, to be honest. I have had a presentation in terms of Fort George a couple of times, but it's really good now to get the update on it. I think it's a hugely exciting project, and it's hugely impressive, I have to say, in terms of what's planned. I just wanted to comment. We had a presentation yesterday at our Health and Communities Committee from Western Urgent Care. And it was very evident from that presentation the current pressures that are on our GPs. And we did discuss the health hub at Fort George and Strabane in relation to when they come on board, how they can assist in terms of taking some of that pressure off the health service and enhancing the work of our GPs. So I think that is hugely important, and I think that we do need to take that on board. We did also discuss the impact that the medical school will have on us training local GPs and having them stay locally, which is key to addressing some of the pressures that our GPs are under here locally. And I think that the hub there and giving that space for GPs to train will be key to that development. Now, they were saying that realistically it'll probably be 10 years before we see the full impact of the medical school on easing some of those pressures, but at least it's positive and it is moving in the right direction. So I suppose just if you had any thoughts on how this all can add to assisting us in relieving some of those pressures, because I know from, constituency work at the minute, a lot of the stuff is around the pressures in GPs, and I suppose in terms of COVID, just that lack of face-to-face service, but that's not for now. But I do think that we are really moving forward in some of this stuff. The Strabane Health Hub is also really impressive, and it just shows how the City Deal projects are coming together, and we can see that progress now for the city and district, and how the Western Health has stepped into that arena as well to make sure that as a city and region, we're all working together, and it is for the betterment of the health of our district as well. So thank you, Keith, for the presentation.
Keith, thank you, Sandra. Might I bring you in on those 2 points? And then I see there's Jim McColgan just wants to come in on the point when you're finished there, Keith.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra, for those words of support. And you're very right about the Western Urgent Care. We have deliberately had GP out of hours Western Urgent Care staff, and the development of the business cases for both Strabane and Cityside to ensure that they're a central part of the wider response to the healthcare pressures we're under. In terms then of the timescales that are being asked, it has to be acknowledged, and John knows this, we've acknowledged it before, is the Strabane Health and Care Centre Hub was not on any timescale of the Department of Health within the next 10 years, to be honest. And the City Deal has been the catalyst that has been able to kick this back onto the agenda and get this moving. And we're very grateful for that, because we were getting nowhere with the development of the Strabane one. The intention of these health and care centre hubs is to provide flexible space to allow services to develop, and they will have to respond to COVID, to respond to anything that happens, but it gives us the infrastructure in place. And we know from anecdotal evidence that medical trainees like to go to shiny new places where there's all the new equipment, and that's where they generally will go for their placements and take up jobs. And if we don't have those facilities in the West and in the Derry City Council area, we will not be able to retain any of the trainees going through the medical school. So it's getting this in place now. It's one of the key building blocks of the overall picture for medical and services within the town. So hopefully, Sandra, that answers most of your questions. If there's any more, I'm happy to.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Maybe bring in Jim McColgan there.
Thanks, Chair. Keith, thank you very much for that presentation, and I welcome the progress you're making on it. Just a couple of quick points. I note in one of your slides at the bottom of it, you paid reference to the community and voluntary sector. I think it's important as you move forward with both projects in Strabane and Derry that you put in process that link with the community and voluntary sector. But from the rural perspective, I think it's also important because of the problems that exist within the rural area in terms of providing services. It's important that you link them in as well in terms of the development of both those projects. I'd welcome your comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. In relation to the rural element of it, I mean, the development of these models of care moving forward is a hub and spoke model. These are the hubs, which are the central part, but all GP practices that aren't involved in it will become a spoke and will be linked to it, so they can avail directly of the services. And it's the way it's rolling out. And you'll see that we basically are working towards 5 in the immediate future health and care centre hubs in the west. We have one in Enniskillen, which is already developed. We have Waterside Health Centre, which the GPs develop themselves. We have OMA, which is up and running. We're hoping now to get the approval to kickstart the list of scheme one. And that leaves us Cityside, Strabane, and further down the line, Limavady, to develop more ones. So we're looking to cover the whole area within the Western Trust. The second one, the community and voluntary sector, you're very right about that, and we're very keen to get the community and voluntary sector who is central to this. And as I said, the procurement process is under for our design team, and we're hoping to have them in place by the end of the summer. So as we move forward in design and finalising the services that go into these sectors, we want the community and voluntary sector to be involved in the decision making and suggesting what best fits for their area within these centres.
Okay, thank you, Keith. I see a comment then from Roisin from the Northwest Community Network. Very delighted to see Fort George finally being developed. I think we would all echo that. And I think it's also important, I think you highlighted, Keith, in your presentation, and I don't know if there are any colleagues from DFC in the call who wish to comment on this, but it still leaves plenty of room for further development on Fort George. This is only one of the major developments we hope to see coming forward in the site, albeit it's of massive scale. But the site is, as I understand it, Keith, can support further additional development.
Yes, you're right, John. Our requirement is for less than half the site, and that includes the catalyst plans, which are already underway.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments in regard to the presentation from Keith? No? Well, Keith, it just remains me to thank you for that, and also to congratulate you on the recently opened latest phase of development at Altnagalvin Hospital, which in itself is a massive investment, and great to see, and wish you well with future developments on site there as well. Thanks for taking the time this morning. And
thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you. We'll pass on now. We've been joined, I see him there on the screen, Dr. Owen McGuinness. Hi, Owen. Good to join you. Good for you to join us again. We will all know Owen. At this stage, he updates us from time to time on the latest economic analysis for the city and district. As you know, colleagues, Derry City and Strabane District Council is a member of the UUEPC, the Ulster University Economic Policy Centre, and through that work and collaboration, Owen has been working with us over some time now in monitoring the economic outlook for the city and district, and also doing very, very important work in relation to the economic analysis of the growth plan and the subset of it, the city deal. So delighted to see you back, Owen. I have no idea what is in this presentation. As I understand it, it's just hot off the press.
Yeah.
We're all looking forward to seeing what your current analysis is, and over to you.
Thank you, and thanks very much again for the invitation to come and speak to the Strategic Growth Partnership. I'm always delighted to do this either, and hopefully next time we might be doing this in person. Today, I suppose the last time I spoke was possibly towards the end of last year, when I updated, and I think at that stage we certainly were maybe towards the back end of the tunnel as opposed to the light at the end of the tunnel at that point. So I think today I'd be a bit more optimistic, really, and I just want to take you through a short presentation literally about where things maybe stand at the moment, and then come back a little bit to what the baseline looks like and what the additional benefits of the city deal subset that John spoke about there now might be as well. So perhaps next slide. So in terms of it's cautious optimism. anyone who knows me well knows that, you know, I tend to be more optimistic than cautious, but I'll go with cautious optimism as a mix of the two today. And I think we still have a lot of uncertainties there, and I've sort of tried to balance one out with the other. If you take something like a good change, perhaps in a lot of ways, you know, we're able to do something like this, which is a move to digital, and at the same time, the shift to digital has meant a lot of more uncertainty around the future of retail and indeed the broader question of town centres and city centres. So there's a, you know, there's a plus and a minus to that particular one. But I think optimism, the vaccine rollout has been strong on both sides of the border now. We're kind of picking up pace there with that. I think, you know, some of the evidence there for any worries we might have had about hesitancy or even vaccine escape. I think, you know, there's issues around variants, but nonetheless, I think it's a good news story. Government support continues there up into the autumn with furlough and SEISS. So that I think has been a big bridge to the other side, to the recovery, which can't be underestimated. There's a demand, I suppose, among consumers, and we've seen that even just recent months for normality. So consumers are coming out quite strongly. Now, question mark over how long that might last, but at least the initial bounce from that is certainly there, and you can see it in some of the PMI results for the North's economy. And then I think for some, and not for all, but for some, there's been a chance to reset work, the type of work, and also their savings in 2020. I would stress that that's not for all. The uncertainties then, we don't globally, obviously COVID's at different stages in different parts of the world. Brexit always remains an uncertainty, and it seems to be around every corner. There's a new uncertainty there. I think one of the things we are seeing, and this is something we felt would happen, is that quite clearly businesses are shifting suppliers or looking around at shifting suppliers. We're seeing that across Europe. Evidence out of Germany, for instance, there would suggest that German companies are looking not only for different suppliers for some of their parts, but also for different markets as well. So a shift there in terms of kind of trade patterns, I think, which was inevitable with Brexit. And how that might play out locally obviously depends on the protocol and what happens there. I mentioned the shift to digital in town centres. That's an uncertainty. And then we've an important point, I suppose. We heard from Leo Murphy and Fergal Tuffy earlier there about the role of the Northwest College and the role of the universities in terms of skills. The level of employment scarring that we might see after COVID remains an uncertain one. I think we'll see some, but perhaps not as much as we feared initially. And productivity remains a challenge, both locally within the local economy and more broadly within the Northern Ireland economy. So perhaps next slide, please. So in terms of we were some of this. We had seen strong growth really up to 2019. Some of these figures would be for taking in the 2020 results, but we had seen that long run lagging of Northern Ireland growth that had recently been reversed, certainly up to 2019 in Derry City and Strabane. But equally with the rest of the North's economy, output fell off a cliff last year, down by over 10%. Nothing surprising there, given the level of restrictions and the amount of the time of year that a lot of businesses were closed. So that was one, and the impact of COVID is much more clear, I think, in this space in terms of business output than in terms of the labour market. So perhaps the next slide. And unemployment, we had seen that too. You can see the uptick last year in terms of the claimant count numbers. Question now is whether we've, for the moment, reached a kind of peak at around 6.5%, but that mirroring with a lag between the light blue line being Derry City and Strabane and the dark blue line being the Northern Ireland average. You're kind of seeing that one was going down for a few years and then picked back up again in 2020. And as the May 21 figures that were just out this week show, the numbers in Derry City and Strabane just over the 6,115 claimants on the claimant count there across the council area. Key question, I suppose, now for employment and unemployment is what happens when furlough ends. With the last figures, which I think were towards the end of March, the last figures available to us, more than 7,000 jobs remained furloughed in the council area, which is a big number. And I think worryingly, we would expect to see a lot of those come back maybe as the economy reopens, in particular in accommodation, hospitality. But there were a lot of other sectors where you wouldn't have expected to see jobs still furloughed that were there. So the long-term future of some of those jobs remains in question. I think at a previous presentation, I would have said that maybe a quarter of the jobs furloughed when we come to an end point may not come back at all. I think we're probably not that far off that mark, that we will see a sharp rise in unemployment as we come into the autumn, and that's certainly what we're forecasting for the back end of this year and into 2022 as well. So a couple of years of kind of rising unemployment within the labour market. Next one, please. And I suppose it's the pity of this has been the fact that we have had strong employment growth after a couple of years there in the mid 2010s where we weren't seeing growth at all. We had seen strong growth, and even last year there was still jobs being added on in terms of workplaces. Even though a lot of workplaces remain closed, there were still vacancies there, and vacancies being filled in the local in the local labour market. And as I say, less of a COVID impact in 2020 due to the furlough and other supports there. But one point, I suppose, is that there's still room for improvement. Certainly in this, employment rate of residents is still lower than the Northern Ireland average at 56%. So there's certainly more scope. And I think the work, as I say, that Leo and Fergal talked about, gives you some sense of, there are still people going to be turning up at the college or at the university saying, I don't have skills for this or I don't have skills for that. And those supports are going to be critical, I think, to getting people into jobs that are still there and will still be created. So now the next slide. Inactivity then remains a key issue for us, and it's one I've said time and again on calls like this. We haven't quite cracked that yet. I think and actually apologies for the text on this. This is kind of from another slide. But what I would say on inactivity is that it's important, and I think the labour market partnerships will be able to get to this at a very granular level in the council area. We need to kind of make the distinctions between the different reasons people are inactive. There are different cohorts there. There are students whose inactivity in the last 12 months has gone up due to the lack of part-time work for them. But there are other groups that are people who have caring duties at home, people who are sick or disabled, people who maybe taken early retirement. And there are varying kind of expectations among different groups for whether they re-enter the labour market with or without support. So I think there's different groups there. Seeing what the trends in those groups have been over time, I think would be a key part of the LMP work and a very important part of that. And certainly, from talking to staff in the council, we look forward to being able to add any insights that we can on that point. So next slide. So in terms of the outlook, then that's kind of where we got to really up to 2020. Just take you through some of the baseline and the kind of additional numbers that we expect out of the city deal. So just the next slide. So we still believe, even with COVID and all of that, we still are fairly firm in our belief in general that the city deal can offer the opportunity for sort of transformative change across a number of indicators, particularly around population, around additional jobs, and around kind of wages and GVA. So turning to the population question, we still reckon there that the baseline predictions of around about reaching 152,000 by 2032, we reckon that there is an opportunity to raise that by more than 3,000 or up to 3,000, I should say, under the city deal. We still believe that investments that you've heard about there this morning and other investments still to come will attract new people, but possibly equally importantly will prevent people, in a sense, offer people an opportunity not to leave rather than preventing people leave. So the retention ability of the city and district, I think we would reckon, becomes much more attractive. I think the shift in some of the allied health, the graduate medical, the school, but also I think even more kind of broadly there around sort of new jobs in new areas will attract new people in. So we think there's plenty of scope there for additional population growth, and in some ways to stave off a decline that will otherwise come in terms of the working age population if we don't succeed in that. Next slide. Again, we reckon too that the opportunity we feel the next couple of years in terms of GVA will be, we'll see some growth within the local economy, not least from the fall off that there was last year in 2020. So we'll see a bounce back this year and into next year in terms of GVA. But even on top of that, we believe certainly into 2-3 years time and beyond that, you'll start to see quite a bounce in terms of GVA there. I kind of believe that this is not only going to be the projects that are in the city deal, but an emulative effect. And I go back again to the point, I think the point that Fergal Tuffy made is a critical one. There's going to be an emulation effect there in terms of local firms wanting to come in and do new food innovation, new innovation in terms of new products, new processes that I think will come on the back of the city deal and actually seeing other things being done. So the small R and large D, I think, will become critical in that for Indigenous firms, as well as the additional investments that will come on stream and the bounce from those. So I think that's a critical point, I think, in terms of the broader infrastructure or the broader ecosystem within the city. And we will see higher wages there. We still believe that it'll be 120, 130 million additional in wages, with all of the knock-on effects that it has then in terms of employability and other employment opportunities that come with that. And that leads me to the next slide around employment. We believe that it'll improve and add a strong boost to employment growth. In terms of the kind of general outlook for that, before we even think of the city deal, we expect, as I said earlier, for unemployment to rise potentially in the second half of this year and into next year, depending on how well the economy rebounds as we reopen. But we still think that there are some jobs there that have been furloughed that won't be returned to for everyone involved in that. So I think that's an important point to bear in mind. We'll see that lag in terms of the labour market effects into 2022, 2023 before we start to see growth again. So the city deal, the initial investments in terms of the construction investments in that, but also more broadly then as the city deal and the strategic growth plan have their impacts, we feel that will add a fair bit of additional bounce to the employment growth over the next couple of years. And we're still standing with over 72,000 additional jobs to be created by 2032. But an important point here is that we feel a lot of those jobs will be created at level 4 and higher, but not all. I think there will be jobs that are right across the skills base there. So things like essential skills, assured skills, academies will be critical for helping us fill a lot of that employment. And just then the final slide, and this is more, I suppose, a general point. I think often I would kind of stress the transformative effects of the city deal and indeed of the strategic growth plan in the longer run. And I would still believe that is very important, particularly as we recover from COVID. But I think one of the things I work with maybe 8 of the 11 councils in different kind of way of economic advice and forecasting. And I've always been struck, and it's easy maybe to say this because I'm on a call with yourselves, but I've always been struck by the level of partnership that has been behind the community planning process within the city. I think the fact that you are still meeting as a strategic growth partnership, whatever it might be, 17, 18 meetings on, is probably testament to that. And I think the partnership approach is going to be even more necessary as we recover from COVID than ever. I think the labour market partnership, as I mentioned earlier, offers great opportunity there to provide a very local analysis and a local response to some of the longer term labour market issues around inactivity and around long term and indeed youth unemployment. But I think there's also the need for partnership will continue in terms of the innovation and skills piece right across that spectrum. I think there certainly will be opportunities, I think, for the community and voluntary sector to play its role in that. One thing I think would be interesting to see is the extent to which maybe social enterprises can take up opportunities that City Deal would throw up. I think we often talk about City Deal, and rightly so, that it's innovation and higher end skills, but there's also the Inclusive Future Fund, there's the employability opportunities, but I think there's probably also procurement and other opportunities there for social enterprises across the city that I think would be critical. And the final point I suppose I would make there is that the partnerships are going to be very, very important. I think what we've seen over the last 12 months in terms of tackling COVID was that we wouldn't have done that without a partnership approach. I think the critical risks that are posed to the success of the city deal and other things by Brexit, by the higher than average inactivity rates, and the delivery of key enabling infrastructure projects, I think they will only be addressed through continuing that wider partnership work that the council has been very much to the fore in. So I'll leave it there and pass back to the chair.
Owen, thank you very much. And in spite of the potential negative impacts that we might face in the next couple of months, and also the cautious optimism that you have to bring to an exercise such as this, I think it's quite incredible to be sitting in a situation where we believe that the path that we were on is going to create an additional 7,000 jobs in this council area over the next 5 to 8 years. And I mean, that's a key message that I think we as a partnership need to begin to communicate collectively out there to particularly our young people, that they see that pipeline coming forward of opportunity to live and to work and to grow a family in this council area. It's a tremendous opportunity. I don't think we've historically ever been in this place. And I think as we emerge from this current crisis, we increasingly will hopefully A, see it happen, and B, build and promote the message around it. Your last point in relation to partnership, working in partnership approach, I think this strategic growth partnership, in fact, despite the fact people are dropping off it like flies at the moment, because I know that a lot of people had to go at 11:30. This strategic growth partnership is testament to that partnership working, and we would not be where we are with an awful lot of these projects, and indeed, as you've referenced, how the city and district responded to the COVID crisis, right across the community and voluntary sector and the statutory agencies, and of course led by health, is a testament to all of that. So a very exciting outlook. I do note the massive word of caution in terms of the bump ahead when we get to the autumn. I hope you've been overly pessimistic in that forecast and it doesn't materialize, but I think we do need to brace ourselves for that. And of course that feeds back into Leo and Fergal's presentation and the importance of that flexible skills program in order to upskill and reskill those people who may unfortunately find themselves in that position. So thank you, Owen. I see a comment, a question from Paul Clancy from the Chamber. So if we could bring Paul in. Maura, I see a very positive comment about partnership. I'm not sure if you want to say anything, Maura, or if that's just a statement, but I'm happy that you both come in and comment if you wish.
If you want me to come in, John, thank you. And thank you for a very informative presentation. Owen, I suppose on behalf of health, all the presentations this morning have been so obvious that collaborative and partnership working. And I suppose my comment was rare around the learning that we have taken through this last sort of year and a half as we've been right in the midst of the pandemic. We're not in recovery mode, but we're going into a type of recovery. And I suppose as my plea, I suppose, to the partnership as well is that, you know, as we go into looking at and we call it rebuild, we call it service delivery, as that comes out to yourselves, how, John, that we continue, you know, this partnership and that we're having these open conversations about how we can work better for all of the population we serve. Because some of the things I've heard this morning from Fergal and from Leo, you know, I'm sort of thinking my ears are going, well, how do we then in health actually capitalise some of that really good work and vice versa, so that we're not, you know, there's still some little bits of silo working, and yet at the same time we have this partnership to really make it real moving forward, John. So it's really, suppose it's just my plea that we continue with this type of partnership approach and learn from each other, which I've heard very much this morning. So really it's more a comment and also say well done everyone, great presentations today.
Absolutely, Maura. I mean, there really is no end to the potential we can achieve when we learn of each other's work, and then I suppose all we can do in a short hour and a half or 2 hours every quarter is map it all out and then each of us can go away and see how we can add value to what we do, and maybe reach out to each other and see where some small programs can link up together. But I'm very happy that we certainly continue this, and I think the partnership is strong, and the fact that we've survived virtually over the last 18 months or so as well is testament to it. Paul Clancy, do you want to come in there, Paul?
Yeah, John, Chair, thank you very much, John. And Owen, thank you so much for your presentation and all the presentations this morning. They really have been very informative, and a special thanks to Northwest Regional College for supporting our webinar. Yes, they did a fantastic job touching a lot of the topics that Fergal and Leo covered this morning. But my question for Owen, you mentioned about the Brexit, and I know the uncertainty that brings. I'm just wondering from trade, and I don't know if we have stats on this yet, since January, north-south and north-south and south-north, just in terms of growth or decline, and then making comparison with east-west and west-east to see the flows of trade and what the movements have been since January has been implemented. I'm just wondering, have we any indication of what that's looking like at the moment?
We do, Paul. I mean, the CSO, which would be I suppose the Republic's equivalent of the statistical body in the north, NISRA. So the Central Statistics Office I was going to say in Dublin, it's in Cork, would release trade figures on a monthly basis, and Northern Ireland's treated as a kind of a market, through which exports go to and imports come from. As well as kind of Great Britain, it's sort of treated separately from Great Britain. So it allows us to do that kind of analysis. And if you look at the first quarter, so the first 3 months of 2021, there was a sharp increase in both north to south and south to north trade. So cross-border trade was well up on the same quarter last year. So Q1 2021 would have been higher than Q1 2020. By contrast, east-west in both directions, but particularly in the direction of sort of coming from GB into the Republic of Ireland was down quite significantly as well, over that same period. So it looked like cross-border trade is pretty healthy at the moment, whereas east-west trade is looking a wee bit shakier. That's for, as I say, for the south. We don't have timely figures like that for Northern Ireland, because the HMRC figures, which are the timely ones, don't include kind of east-west numbers in that. The numbers that would be there for north to south trade, if you want to call it that, would kind of echo what the CSO was showing. So yeah, cross-border trade looks pretty healthy at the moment. I'd add a word of caution to that's often the value of trade, and I have a funny feeling that there's inflationary effects in that, Paul. When you look at the volume numbers aren't as sharp as the value. So just a word of caution whenever people are talking about the value of cross-border trade, there is a bit of an inflationary effect given kind of building materials, increased costs and so on and so forth in that. So that's just...
John, could I pick up just a point with Owen? I just have my hand up there on the screen, Owen, before you go. And obviously the big challenge is, there's macroeconomic stuff in a Northern Ireland context, particularly around skills and around the need for the necessary acceleration of reforms around the education system 14 to 19, because one of the challenges we have is we're hemorrhaging, we're losing too much talent. We're currently feeding a GB higher education system and all that type of stuff that we know historically, and trying to break that mold. So that's going to be one of the challenges. Now, some of those young people may wish to go away, and that's a fact on a democracy. You have to respect that. But trying to move some of them into intermediate pathways and qualifications through higher level apprenticeships is a big challenge, because the danger is, you continue to hemorrhage talent that you need to grow within your region. You still have a perception, there's a time lag. You're making messaging that there are jobs and opportunities, but there's a time lag for that message, and there's a lot of noise and fog around that to get that messaging out, because people are in a mindset. One of the issues I continually have is discussions happen around the economy, but there seems to be a very weak interface talking to the post-primary schools and their role in economy, and that's no reflection of the skills they have to respond to a certain agenda around league timetables or league tables, etc. But there's a wee bit of a disconnect. There's a number of policy things I think need to come together and need to shift on in terms of review of education, the 14 to 19, etc., to have an impact to make sure that we have some kind of steadiness around our labour. Would I have read that right, do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with any of that, Leo. I think that is a point. I think we have that issue. I suppose most of us in this call will, either be at that stage where have been through that as parents, or will be going through that as parents too. And I think there is a responsibility on ourselves in terms of kind of looking at the diversity of pathways that could be there for young people coming through. A good straw in the window, I would say, in my own local area here in sort of South Down, maybe to jump at the work Newry Mourne and Down have done. They've quite successfully. Now I'll make a kind of be clear on this. They're quite successful with the secondary or high school sector. Brought them into kind of skills forum work there with kind of school principals and vice principals. And I think that's been an interesting process to watch. Less success with the grammar schools because I think the league table issues are still prevalent there, and there seems to be primarily only one route through, and that's into higher education or a degree qualification. But I think with the secondary schools, it's been quite interesting to see that, and the higher level apprenticeships. Some of the other offerings like that, I think have gained more traction there. There's been a nice kind of an interaction between employers and that secretary.
Because with the information on, just to finish that, the gaps in the economy at level 4 and level 5, which to people on the call today is HND, foundation degree, higher level apprenticeship. That's where the massive gaps are. That technician level in the economy. And we seem to have a disconnect when we're losing young people from schools. They automatically think a level 6 qualification is degree or postgraduate is the most immediate thing they need to get. And if they can't get it in Northern Ireland, they tend to other places to get it. So we don't seem to have the sophistication like they would have in America around the community colleges, where the 2-year degrees very much ingrained, associate bachelor degrees as pathways. So there's a bit of work to be done around connecting up the primary, post-primary and the tertiary sectors, we now call it, which is further and higher education together, to kind of to give us the right and maintain as much of the labour and add skills to that labour to keep it within the region. And that's a big challenge we're going to have, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd agree with that. No disagreement there.
Leo. Thank you, Leo, for those comments, and thank you, Owen, for the answers. I see a number of people thanking you for the presentation, Owen, in the chat box. I don't think there are any other more specific questions at this stage. So it just remains of me to thank you again, Owen, on behalf of the partnership. Look forward to seeing you, I think, again in the strategic growth or the governance and strategic planning committee in a week or two's time.
Yep.
Hopefully those projections will, if they do change, they'll go in the right direction between now and then. And thanks once again, and speak to you soon.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Thanks now.
Colleagues, I think that's most of our detail business concluded for the day. We have a number of information papers before you today. Rachel, do you want to say anything about any of those before we wrap up?
No, just generally 2 items there for information. Members can read it at their perusal. The first one is around the programme management update, just to give you an update on what we're doing around the consultation and engagement for the review of the community plan. And at our next meeting in October, we will present a consultation report to give some feedback on what's been said from wider stakeholders in relation to the community plan. So that'll be an interesting report at the next meeting. And there's also an update there on the really excellent work that Una McGillian, our Director of Legacy, is leading on in relation to the rural issues group, just to give you an update on how that's progressing. So with that, it's just for information, and happy to take any questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you very much, Rachel. And I think the work that's been undertaken in relation to the rural issues is something we will perhaps focus on to a greater extent in a future meeting. But the paper is presented to you members this morning for information, and we will bring it back as a more substantive update, as I say, either at our October meeting or the meeting after that. Also, you have before you, I think, the remainder of the meeting schedule for the year. We've one last meeting. If it's not in person in October, I hope it will be our last virtual meeting. But obviously that remains to be seen, and we'll take a view in that when we get to September. So if that's all of the business for today, just asking if anybody wants to add anything else before we wrap up. Not hearing anything or seeing any virtual hands go up. So just thanks so much, everybody, for all of your collegiate partnership working, for all of your support of one another and of council in particular over the last number of months since we last met. Hopefully everybody will get a little bit of a break over the summer holidays, and look forward to seeing many of you in individual meetings over the next couple of months, and collectively again when we get back in the autumn. Thanks so much and have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.